check if it went live on the TV, on YouTube. It's already went live. No, not yet. No, not yet.
We're back at you and gloves off, and today we have the debate of Laredo College Board Place 7. And two of the candidates are here with us. It's Justin Hirschnerscher and Lino Sanchez. We're back at you and gloves off, and today we have the debate of Laredo College Board. If you guys can turn off your all's phones, because we're going to be all come out. It's Justin Hirschnerscher and Lino Sanchez. We're back at you and gloves off, and today we have the debate of. So what we'll do right now is start sharing. If you guys give in there, since it's going live, you want to share it to your Facebook, it'll be great. All right, folks, can you hear me? Can you all hear me there? Let me see if I can't hear you all. Let me see if I can just.
I can hear you.
Okay, can you hear me, Mr. Lino?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear both of you.
Okay.
Number one, we want to give our condolences to the Elizondo family for one of their members of their family passing on. Ms. Karina could not be here. For the others, everybody was invited. So we're going to go ahead and start the debate. I'm going to ask Mr. Lino to go ahead and give you a minute for your opening. We'll do the same with Mr. Hirschnerscher. Mr. Sanchez, go ahead.
Thank you, Paul, for allowing us to be here on your YouTube channel and able to talk to your audience. My name is Lino Sanchez. I am running for the Laredo College Board of Trustees Place 7, and I hope for your support.
Okay, well, we have you here. Mr. Hirschnerscher, your opening.
First off, I want to thank Lino for being here today. This shows his commitment to the voters. I am honored not to run against him, but along with him. I'm a first-generation college graduate raised in a working-class family who worked for everything earned. I teach career and technical students at United South High School and see firsthand the transitioning of students into higher education or the workforce, which provides me with a unique perspective. I have a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration, Associates of Arts in Criminal Justice, various certifications in technology, business, and finance. I'm also certified to teach business for 6th through 12th grade. I also have a certification in the Texas Open Meetings Act, serving in several city committees. I'm running because we have enough politicians making decisions on education, and I'm a candidate who brings the experience as an educator onto the board, who will make decisions on educational needs. I don't have anything to prove to any politician or upper hand. I'm not a mouthpiece to any special interest, but rather lead by listening to students, faculty, staff, and taxpayers. We must work together to make our community stronger through education and elevate our current and future generations. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Now, we understand there were several others that were, well, everybody was invited correctly, and everybody was invited with adequate time and with all the information for everybody to be here. Nonetheless, we'll continue. And we'll go ahead and start off with you, Mr. Hirschnerscher, for the first question, and then we'll go offsetting on each one. And The first question that we have, and this was compiled by several people and several individuals that have been to junior colleges and other higher learning and educational institutes, and as well as have their own professions and so on and so forth. So the first question is, while this COVID-19 pandemic ravages the world, nations, and the state, as well as our city, will most institutions survive these disruptions in roughly their current form? If so, which types of schools are the most vulnerable, and what opportunities have emerged for us to date?
Thank you for that question. There's no doubt the pandemic has showed us how drastic our lives can change and from one day to another, and what we're currently going through. As an educator who has to deal with the conditions of educating students during this pandemic, I see firsthand the many ways that we have to adapt in this moment. I do believe LC will survive and we will all get through this. Currently, most LC students are in an online environment. However, there will have to be a time where we will have to go back to full on-campus instruction. I believe we need to start developing a plan for an eventual return in phases. As far as opportunities, there are always opportunities that emerge when we are faced with adversity. In my experience as an educator, the opportunities that have emerged is that I have been able to grow and learn new ways in educating students, such as in an online environment, and have learned new programs and technology that can eventually be integrated in the classroom environment once we do go back. At LC, we can potentially offer more online courses for those who want it, such as for working adults. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Now, Mr. Sanchez.
Yeah, I do think I agree with Mr. And I'm sorry I can't pronounce your name correctly, but I do agree with Justin. I do think at least one benefit from this pandemic is that we can see that there is flexibility in education. And that even though we might not be able to return 100% yet as an in-person, we look forward to having to be able to do that. But the potential benefit on this is also that many that juggle school and work can now have this flexibility to be able to do online. And I think that there are some risk programs that have to be done in person, like vocational and fine arts. But right now with this pandemic, this flexibility has helped, and it will help also those older people like myself that want to go back to study, and we have to juggle work and education at the same time. So I think we found something in this pandemic that might be good for all of us in the flexibility that we have now, that we can do this through online and work.
Okay, thank you. Now, the next question will be addressed to you, Mr. Sanchez.
Okay.
Particularly with the pandemic, should we create new tracks for faculty members who are able to harness technology to teach hundreds or even thousands of students, both residential and remote? Should we have more differentiated types of faculty roles? If so, should the potential compensation be higher?
I know it was unfair to expect that educators would have been properly prepared or equipped to handle this kind of mass numbers of students coming in online with them. We're in uncharted territory at this moment, where every teacher is basically at the same level as the first year teachers, because of none of them had the skills required for this COVID-19 pandemic. So with this great opportunity for our younger generation educators to step up and mentor our older generation educators, of course, that extra responsibility should result in greater compensation for those educators who succeed in this environment. I believe that this has helped, and it's going to be something good for all education.
Thank you. Mr. Huntsnerser?
Yes, especially if we are to create more online-only courses. This pandemic obviously has showed faculty how to adapt to new technologies and to educate students in a remote setting. Now, of course, it is not for everyone, students or faculty, but if there is a demand, then we should move forward with such a model. And yes, there should be more compensation for a faculty member if they have to educate in a remote setting and in a residential setting. In fact, we need to take care of our faculty and staff. That's very important. They are the backbone of the college. I know that because I'm an educator. We need to ensure that morale is also high We need to ensure that faculty, for example, all their sick leave hours are honored. The board is looking into removing some of those, that they receive the resources that they need and that they are heard. LC employees, all of them from top to bottom, no matter their title, should be treated with respect and should be taken care of. LC is nothing without them.
Thank you. Now, the next question is addressed to you, Mr. Huntsnerscher, and that is, every college needs to understand its positioning within higher education ecosystem. But critics argue that most schools are content to compete with the identical mediocrities, but better gyms. Understand? For what, with whom, and on what dimensions should our institutions compete?
Right. As we know, LC is now offering four-year degrees, which is great, but we must not shy away from their bread and butter, which is the vocational, technical, and trades programs. I never would want to see LC compete with TAMU. LC is and never will be a university. LC, however, is a college that offers wider educational opportunities for our community. I have always said that yes, LC is number one in the nursing program, but let's not stay content. Let's do better. Let's be number one in other areas. There's always room for improvement. Unfortunately, LC ranks near the bottom right now than other colleges in the state, 8 out of 9, when it comes to graduates who obtain employment within a year. Let's work to create internships by developing partnerships with local employers. We can train students while they obtain their education, and at the same time ensure these employees hire these students upon graduating. LC also has the highest cost of tuition and fees in the region compared to other surrounding colleges. Let's improve on that. Ultimately, I believe Laredo College should be competing with Laredo College.
Okay, Mr. Sanchez?
Yes, I agree in that. I agree that Laredo College should not be competing with any other institution. I mean, Laredo College should be competing within itself to educate. We only have Laredo College and TAMU in Laredo, and it should be concentrating on educating our generation, so that the end goal of our institution is that we educate our population and to prevent them from leaving Laredo, like a brain drain from here. We should be competing with ourselves, Laredo College, to see how many students are from here, how many students are living here, and how many students are staying here after they graduate. We need to make sure that our students remain and continue to work so that we can bring that industry and companies to Laredo. That's what we should be doing, educating, and also bring that the tuition a little lower so that our students can be able to go. I believe Laredo College can do much better, like Justin said. It is number one in the nursing program in the state of Texas, but still, we shouldn't just stay there. We should make more programs, the vocational programs, and more to be able to compete.
Thank you. Now, the next question will be addressed to you, Mr. Sanchez.
Okay.
And we'll take off in that direction.
Okay.
We are witnessing the emergence of high quality, low cost ways of learning online. How should we think about hybrid circular options? This way, the mixing of new forms of pedagogy with the old that might be available to us. How will this affect the residential model?
I believe a hybrid learning model can definitely be an approach we can take to remediate high tuition. For example, we might have some systems where learning takes place online, but the more hands-on approach like labs is done in person. Finding the right balance between these two is what we have to be looking forward. This is what I bring to the table, what I'm going to bring so we can be able to find that low cost and be able to handle the online also.
Thank you, Mr. Huntsnerscher.
Yes, sir. First off, I want to say that I'm actually a product of online college. And let me tell you, it's not easy, but it can be done for those who want to obtain an education. One of my plans is to target, of course, the working adults. The majority currently of LC students are aged 18 to 20. But what about the rest? We need to offer more flexible and yes, online courses as options so we can target those working adults. There are many out there who work and have to support a family. Therefore, these online courses or a hybrid model, especially of course, like those courses where you need to be in person, can provide more opportunities for the entire city. As far as affecting the residential model or the brick and mortar aspect of the college, it could very well be, but there are many out there still who will still want to continue experiencing the on-campus life, especially those that are graduating high school. At any rate, we have to adapt and provide opportunities for working adults. Also, my concern is with enrollment. I think my time is up. Thank you.
Now, the next question, which will start with you, is it is important for most institutions to have a president, but many lack the transparency of powers. Where should the president's time be spent? Should the president be articulating a vision or strategy versus directing the university's operations towards more fundraising?
Right. I believe the president's powers should be limited in a college. The board of trustees are elected by the people, and they cannot keep giving up their powers to one single person, which is the president that's there. The board, the president, and the administration are there as a check and balance. The president should articulate their vision and goals, yes, and the board should review those goals and their vision. Ultimately, the board should be responsible for the budget, which is very important. Therefore, I think that all financials should be approved by the board. We need board members who will not simply be a proxy vote for the president. The last thing we need are puppets. If elected, I will ensure there is fiscal responsibility, accountability, and most importantly, transparency.
Mr. Sanchez?
Ideally, the president of any institution of higher education should be spending their time doing all three of these things. But if you have to prioritize, then I would suggest that the president be considered in the vision and the face of our college. I do believe that he has the way to delegate for some of these things, for the fundraising or for any other aspects that he needs to delegate. Yes, of course, the board of trustees oversees all that, and like Justin said, we're not there as a proxy vote. We're there to make sure checks and balances are happening. And we're there to make sure that the president is doing the right thing for the college, which for now I think he has been doing, the one we have right now. I'm also not just a voice to be sitting there and not looking at what's going on, but I do believe that the president should be there for our vision.
Thank you. The next question, and we'll start with you, is the following. Funding models vary widely based on family income. It is a student debt crisis as bad as the journalists claim. Will there be any new pathways for students with limited financial resources?
I think that the debt crisis is bad as the journalists do say. I think that if just by simple research, it's a 1.6 trillion debt for the students. And that's more larger than the economy of Mexico, for example. I have my experience on this. My children had to get loans. So they went in debt while getting their education. The good thing about it, they had professions or employments which they'll be able to pay their debt. But not all students have that same avenue. So I do believe that we need to provide more scholarships, more benefits for the regular student that don't have that same way of getting benefits. Loans is a very hard thing to do and to have. But believe me, I've seen it in myself. So beyond these, we need to make sure that federal and state programs get reformed so that we can help our students.
Thank you. Mr. Huntsner?
Yes, sir. The student debt crisis is bad. I know personally because I owe student debt. Now, LC does not offer federal loans because of Title IV status and default rates. Which can be a double-edged sword because students have to choose between paying out of pocket or getting a private loan, which, by the way, are at much higher interest rates than the Fed loans. Ultimately, it is the middle class who gets stuck because they don't qualify for sufficient financial aid and they have to pay out of their wallets. We must offer programs. One of my programs proposals is the Palomino Promise, which is a program that would be funded solely by philanthropy and geared towards all graduating high school students. This essentially bridges the gap between financial aid and grants awarded to the student, making it a tuition-free program. Similar programs are already offered in other colleges in right here. So let's try to get it done and try to look at proposals to try to make college affordable. As I mentioned earlier, LC has the highest cost of tuition and fees in the region. So let's do something about it.
Thank you. Now we're here for the closing. Each one of you has 2 minutes for closing. Explain a little bit about yourself for the people to understand who you are and why is a basic reason why you all are running. Mr. Huntsner, should you go first?
Well, thank you, Paul, for having me here today and all the other candidates who were invited as well. And Lino, thank you for being also here today. They all have great ideas. Lino, you have great ideas as well. But no matter who wins, I hope we can gather these ideas together and come together for the betterment of all. I also thank you, the voters, for tuning in and hearing what we have to say. I'm a candidate who has advocated and been attentive to the issues of LC for over 6 years. We need to ensure our future is strong by providing educational opportunities for all. And Laredo College can be that educational institution that opens those doors to higher education, whether it is a degree, certification, or program in the trades. My plans and visions are not false promises. They are my goals to make our community prosper. Laredo has the highest concentrated poverty in the state and one of the top in the nation. I do not accept that. We must do better, and we can if we focus our educational needs. I am the right candidate with the right experience running for the LC board. I'm not running to seek a higher office later. I'm simply an educator who wants to see our current and future generations thrive in our community. That's what I instill every single day and will do as a trustee. Thank you.
Mr. Lino?
Yes, and I also thank you again for having me here with your audience, Paul. And yes, I'm running also for the same reasons. I want our younger generation get educated, and I believe that with them being educated, we can bring more businesses, more industry, and prosper in our city. Yes, it's very much poverty in our city. I've seen it. I come from there. I come from the streets. I moved up, didn't stay there. I didn't allow my children to stay there. I pushed them, edify them, help them to make something better. Myself also, I became a police officer. I've been in law enforcement for 26 years, and I'm still there. I'm now at Tammy U. I retired from the Laredo Police after 21 years as a sergeant, and I'm at Tammy U Police for 7 years now, been there as a lieutenant. But I'm here to help our younger generation. Also, I'm not here for seeking anything for power or anything like that. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here because I want to make sure that all students have the same opportunity to go to college. Not just the ones who make good grades or the ones who are good at sports, but everyone have that same opportunity to go to college and get an education. And that's my goal to bring to this board and to make sure that our kids can go to college and afford it. That's my main goal for that. So I thank you, and I hope for your support.
Thank you, both of you. Now, number one, thank you both for showing up. It is very important for people to get to know the candidates, and I'm going to tell you why. Many people always complain about the public officials that are out there, and it's their fault really because they didn't get to know which ones they were voting in. And with these types of forums, we can inform the lesser informed. And there's an old quote by Benjamin Franklin that goes, "An investment in knowledge is the best form of interest." And that to me resonates because you have to learn all the time. You always have to be the student of life. And no matter what age group you're at, you always have to continue learning, continue living. And you all are standing up for a generation that are going to college. And I'm very proud to have men like you and women like Ms. Elizondo standing up to try to direct the right path for those individuals of that age group. Once more, I commend you all. And again, our prayers go off to the Elizondo family for losing that family member. If you guys, I know early vote is coming of age. It's going to be starting on 2-3 days, actually, the 13th, right? On
Right.
Tuesday.
And it's going to be on Tuesday, the 13th, and it's going to be 3 weeks for early vote. I think people need to understand that they need to go out and vote and educate yourself about each and every candidate. I want to thank you guys. And again, folks that are watching out there, be safe and please go out and vote. Until next time, peace.